Hi guys, and welcome back to Claire's Clues. On today's video, I'd like to go over the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. So even though this book was written over 2,500 years ago, it still holds extreme relevance today. And even though when it was written with military expertise in mind, it does translate over into the business world nowadays. So there are 13 lessons or chapters in this book, but I've just pulled out a handful today to go over with you guys, and hopefully they help you out a little bit. So with that being said, I'll jump straight into the first one here. Now the first one is called Know Your Enemy and Know Yourself. And in 100 battles, you'll never be in peril. So to give you an example of this, I want you to picture yourself going for a job interview. So you probably won't be surprised to hear that most people that go for a job interview generally don't know anything, if not much at all, about the company. So, like you've probably seen this before, people show up with a piece of paper with their resume on it and they hand it over and say, here's all my qualifications, here's what I've done previously, and you should hire me. Now, unfortunately, most companies or most employers are looking for a bigger reason as to why you should be the one that they hire. What sets you aside or sets you apart from the next person in line? So with that in mind, what you want to do is do your due diligence, and you want to go back and actually do some research. You want to look into the company itself and find out what it is that they do. Find out their pros, cons, how they make their profit, what do they sell, how have they been doing. You want to find out all these little things. And you've got a couple of weeks on your hands, so maybe do that. And what you'll find is that when you go for that job interview, you'll have plenty enough information to say, here's the reasons why. Because you will get asked, why should we hire you over the next person? And you need something that sets you aside. So you can confidently turn around and answer their questions with knowledge on the company and how you, of all people, next in line, would be a great asset to the team. So that's the Know Your Enemy, Know Yourself. And in 100 battles, you'll never be in peril. So that really talks about understanding your opponent or the person you're going into business with, anything like that. And then understanding yourself. What are your strengths? What are you good at? Are you able to convince the person that you're talking to as to what it is that you are trying to convince them of? Now, the second lesson here, guys, is called Avoid What Is Strong and Attack What Is Weak. Now, the best example I can give you of this would be to hypothetically would be a hypothetical. So think of it like this. Say you opened a restaurant and you made some of the best meals in town and you became renowned for it. But in the same town, you have a similar restaurant that makes similar meals. And they say they have better customer service and a better venue. Now you can't compete with that. But what their customers aren't happy with or happy about is where their food is coming from and the quality of it. So instead of renovating your venue or trying to hire new staff members, alternatively, you could advertise that your food is locally sourced, it's freshly made by hand, and the utmost care is taken when selecting produce and fresh cuts of meat. See, this way what you're doing is you're going to attract more happier customers and have a better chance of making a profit at the end of the day. So it puts you in the race to win. Instead of, being just behind your opponent, you're on par or just ahead. So that's what it is when it says avoid what is strong and attack what is weak. Now, moving on to the third lesson here that I got for you guys, it says to win 100 battles is not the height of skill, but to subdue the enemy without fighting is. So this is an interesting one. So you might have seen that people seem to be obsessed with suing each other nowadays. And there's even complete TV series built around watching people being sued. Like, I'm sure we've all heard of Judge Judy. So with that in mind, the truth is that going to court and suing others or someone else could be avoided altogether if you just picked up the phone and you were able to have a discussion and possibly talk through the problems versus going to court. So because this would save a lot of money, it would save a lot of time, energy, as opposed to going for years and years through court and spending, thousands and thousands of dollars of what could be legal fees, and ending up really at the end of the day only being able to say that yes, you won the battle, but really you haven't won much of anything. You've lost years of your time, you've lost thousands of dollars in legal fees, you haven't really, come to terms with the person on, level ground. You've basically pushed them into a corner and decided this is how it's going to be. It's not fair. So instead of being civil about it, picking up the phone, which costs next to nothing, you really, people just choose to go to court, which unfortunately wastes a lot of their time, energy, effort, and money, which is things that you can't get back really. So when it talks about to win 100 battles is not the height of skill, but to subdue the enemy without fighting is, it's talking about how you could simply pick up that phone and say, hey, look, let's talk this out. Let's work it out on our own time so that we're not wasting thousands of dollars of our own money and our time and years of our lives just trying to work out something that we could do over the phone right here, right now. All right, that's what that's talking about, guys. So I'll do a quick recap of all of this as best as I can, just to run you through what I just spoke about. Now, the first one is about know your enemy and know yourself, and in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. So the example I gave for this was going for a job interview. So you want to do your research on that company. You want to understand what it is they do, their pros, cons, and how they profit. Because what you need to do is set yourself aside from the next person in line, the next person that they're going to be interviewing. What makes you different? And here's what's going to make you different, is the fact that you've gone away and maybe for a couple of days, couple of weeks, you've done your research and you've looked into this company and you've really done your due diligence when it comes to finding out what they are involved in, who they work for, who they work with. Little things like that make the biggest difference when you come to have that conversation with the employer. Because they're going to ask you, well, why you of all people? Why not the next guy in line? And you can turn around and say, look, for all these reasons, I know about your company. I know this, and I know, in the next year you'll make a set amount of profit, and I can do all these things that will help improve or benefit you in one hand or another. They want to know that you're going to benefit them in some way versus just being there and keeping things afloat, I suppose. Now, the second one was avoid what is strong and attack what is weak. Now, the example I gave for this was a hypothetical of owning a restaurant. Now, say you own the restaurant and you make great meals and you're really good at what you do, but there's a rival restaurant in the same town and they say they do just as good of a meal and they have a better venue and better customer service. Now, you can't compete with those two things, but what you find out is that the customers themselves aren't really happy or unsure about where their food is coming from and the quality of it. So therefore you can say, look, our food is locally grown, it's locally sourced, you put all the care, the utmost care that you have into finding fresh produce, everything is handmade, and you make sure that you have the freshest cuts of meat. Because this will make a huge difference in people's opinion of what it is you're doing. Because they want to make sure that what you're giving them is basically your blood, sweat, and tears when it comes to what they're going to be consuming. And as for the other company, well, they're not giving that option. They're just saying, well, look, we made food, if we put it in front of you, you pay for it. So you found a way to attack what is weak instead of going up against something that they've already solidified. So instead of, hiring new staff members and getting a new venue or selling the place you have and finding somewhere else, you made a simple advertisement, a simple change in the fact that you let people know that your food is fresh, local, and the utmost care is taken when preparation is going on. That will make a big difference, and you'll find with more customers that'll be happier because they might be looking for something like that, or they're just more comfortable knowing that you're open with what it is that you're doing. Now, the third one here is to win 100 battles is not the height of skill, but to subdue the enemy without fighting is. Now, this is talking about how the example I gave was going to court, so suing people. Now, we see it happen a lot nowadays. People are more than happy to sue someone else over even the smallest of matters, when really those things could be dealt with over the phone. So instead of wasting thousands of dollars in legal fees and all their time, years of going through the court system and waiting on an appeal or a decision or finding out what's going on, you could easily have just picked up the phone. That would cost you next to nothing, have that conversation with a civil manner, and really just resolve things then and there without fighting it out in a court of law. All right, because it saves everyone so much time, energy, money, and effort. Going to court is a big deal, versus picking up the phone is something that we can do every day. Now, that's all from me, guys. I hope that, gave you a bit of summary and a good run through. Now, we'll be making a lot more of these videos to help you with your training development and your personal development goals. Sorry, this training series and your personal development goals. But until next time, leave a comment below on what you like the most, and I look forward to seeing you next time in Claire's Clues. Bye, guys.